Welcome to the Art of Starting Up. My name's Abe Leachy, and today I have the pleasure of sitting here with Shelley Reinstein and Ashley Carone from Autumn Communications, which is an awesome PR firm who works in the industry representing influencers, brands, event planning, and a whole bunch of stuff, which we're going to talk about today. So, Shelley and Ashley, thank you guys for joining us.
Thank you for having us. This is our first podcast together.
Clearly we're in sync.
Yeah.
I love it. I'm glad that I get to be the one.
Yeah.
So I guess just to start, I'd love to have everybody know a little bit about Autumn, what you guys do, and and then we'll get to the other stuff.
Yeah, so we are a full service PR and marketing company. We do events. We have an influencer division. We have around 40 people on the staff. So we work with everyone from Vital Proteins to, which we love, to Amazon, Ritual Vitamins, Cult Gaia.
We've been with Wink since they were Club W. We work with Soylent since they were V1. We've had a really incredible roster of clients over the years.
Gold Belly, fun ones, yeah.
Yeah, you guys, I mean, I know. Oh, and I should disclaim, because I have to, that Autumn is a client of mine. So for legal purposes.
Yes.
You're not paying us.
Yes.
This is a startup show, and part of what I love to find out is kind of the story behind the startup. Autumn's been around for a while now, right?
Yeah,
I mean,
it was definitely me in a Gmail account on my couch, like watching Beverly Hills 90210 for like a few months, trying to figure out what I was doing. And I didn't have PR experience. So my background was I lived in New York and worked at Us Weekly. And then I moved to LA and worked for MySpace. And, I got laid off from MySpace, and a lot of people were starting their own companies. So I got invested in the startup world. So I represented a few clients. They paid me like $1,000 a month and sold my soul for them and did crazy things for them. But I didn't know what I was doing, so I just kept doing it.
So kind of trial by fire,
yep,
so to speak.
Exactly. And I would go and ask questions to people that I love, like the shadow PR people, and just kind of go in there and ask questions of like, what does it mean to like do PR? What is this? I just knew what I responded to at Us Weekly as a reporter, and how I was like kind of turned off by so many publicists, and I just wanted to do it differently. So
something you just said, I think would actually be really interesting to kind of explain to people, because you hear the term PR or publicist, but I think a lot of people don't actually know what it means.
Right.
So,
we don't even know what it means.
It's an evolving definition.
Yeah.
For sure. What it was and what it is today is very different.
Because of the digital aspect? Or?
Yeah, and I think, my history was I kind of did my circuit of fashion PR agencies in New York and was a bit disillusioned with the industry at the time. It was a little bit stale, and it was a little bit slow to modernize. So when I defected to LA and met Shelley,
working out of my apartment.
It's definitely an interesting job interview. But what I was drawn to was...
Please tell me. Please, I would like to know.
Yeah.
All the dirt's
I always
coming
ask
out.
these. No, because it was just me on my computer. It wasn't a real company.
It was a scary leap, for sure. But I was drawn to Shelley's, her personality. I knew very early on that she was a hustler, and this would not fail under her tutelage.
Right.
So I knew that she had the passion there, and she was a fighter. And I really wanted a place to call home that was interested in new ideas and moving the conversation forward and creating a new way of doing this thing we called PR that was so siloed for so long, and now really the edges are so fuzzy. It's marketing, it's influencer, there's just so much more. It's really 360, and when people ask us what we do in new business meetings, we're like, it's a short list to say what we don't do. Really, we'll do anything to make you successful at the end of the day. We will, and there's many anecdotes to go along with like
tell
the
you
extent
millions.
of which we will make you successful. But
I love the house beer example with you.
What-
You should
tell us.
tell us
so
that
House
one.
Beer, who I love those guys. They started a beer company out of Venice, California, and they were like, okay, great, we have distribution in New York, aka we have a distributor. Distributors don't really care about you, certainly for not like a Budweiser, a Stella, etc., until you show a little bit of momentum. So we were making a New York trip with the founders, and I was like, I can't really say that you're in like the bodega on 76th Street. That's
Right.
not going to give you clout when we're meeting with big entrepreneur, Inc., etc. So I lived in New York for 10 years. I literally called all my favorite bars and restaurants and got them sold in No Fun Bar, Rushmeyer's. They were like the number one account for them was Rushmeyer's because I got them on the menu that summer. So it was just, I knew what it took to like be able to craft a good story and to help them in any way possible. It's certainly not my job to be a salesperson for a beer company, but
And
Well,
for
ki-
two
kind of,
for 2 weeks, I was like, Ashley, where are you? You're not in the office. I'm in Venice. I just got them into a new account in Montauk. I will talk to you later. I'm like, okay.
Sampling
Like
the products.
camped out at the house beer office with like the cutest brothers and guys. So it was okay. But yeah.
And it's funny you say it's not like you're selling the products, but in a way, I guess you could consider that you are in a way.
For
'Cause,
sure.
I mean,
And
you're
we're
selling
good
it to the brand-
salespeople.
Yeah, and I feel like in the space in general, there is kind of that shift to not just providing the creative, but really kind of the guidance and the consulting aspect of, okay, we can do the creative, but let's think about the bigger picture. And I feel like that's something that I've seen you guys just, that's like your focus. You're looking at the big picture and then all
crafting
the
a
other
story.
pieces.
At the end of the day, it's crafting a story. How do we make sure that your story is, as intriguing as possible? Being able to say they're at one of the top bars and restaurants out east for a brand so perfect for that setting was exactly what they needed at the time.
And I guess, I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, but I would imagine that that's only something that could be acquired just over time and doing it because of the relationships that you make and kind of like the dots you can connect.
Yeah.
Of, okay, I know this restaurant and this is trending
Yeah.
right now. And then you just, to know that.
We're really like a Rolodex of information between the two of us. We have such different contacts, but it's like any celebrity, any influencer is really one call away. And throughout the years of working at Us Weekly and MySpace, I've cultivated so many relationships and living in LA for 10 years. And I have a great group of friends. So everything is kind of one contact away. So we're connected in that gross way of referring. I hate that word connected, but you know what I mean.
Yeah. So when was like the moment when you realized like, hey, this is a thing. Like we're actually crushing it right now, and like you have a reputation, and it's not just a company on the couch anymore.
Yeah.
It's like you. Was it when you had your first, first 2 employees, 3, or was there some exciting kind of engagement?
Sure. I mean, the first week we worked with Beats by Dre, the music app. That was like the first kind of big company that took a chance on us. And I remember we like popped champagne when we got that account. And so there's been like a number, but we were still in my apartment. I always took like very small steps. Now, of course, we have like 2 really great big offices, but that would be a first. And, last year, it was so nice. I was in New York and so many people were like, I hear Autumn Communications all the time. Or I was at Wolfer Estates with Joey Wolfer and she's like, you're Autumn Communications. So I feel when I'm out and about, I was on a call with with Witherspoon's partner from Hello Sunshine, and she's like, you have an amazing reputation. So those moments are like, oh my God, like people know about us. So that was kind of a moment for me. Did you have a moment?
I think when it started turning from a completely referral-based client roster to people seeking out our services because they've heard of the great work that we've done, or people have saw on Instagram and like our brands and immediately tried to search for who did their PR. That was a really nice moment because that really speaks more to like the world is seeing work that we're doing, and it's ricocheting back to us. So
Yeah.
that I think has been in the past 2-3 years that we've really kind of seen that pick up.
Yeah, because when we're in a new business meeting, I still ask, and Ashley's like, "Why do you always ask?" I'm always like, "How did you hear about us? Like, how do you
You're
know
thinking
about
ahead
us?"
about
Yeah.
where your leads are coming
Yeah.
People everyone
Yeah,
knows
Ashley's
about
like,
us.
"Stop asking that. We're like a thing now, you know?" So I'm like, "Okay, I'm not going to ask that question anymore." But like under my breath, I'm like, "Who told you?"
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's good. It's good. You saw your holding true to your
Yeah,
roots.
yeah,
Very
yeah.
humble.
Yeah, yeah.
And one thing we were talking about earlier is this kind of the shifting landscape in your industry, and obviously digital is huge. And so when you guys
Huge.
started it out, I mean, I know that it's only been what, over the past 2, 3, maybe 4 years that the whole influencer marketing really took off. I know it's been around, but you know, what was it like shifting from more traditional marketing and PR? Was there a shift, or were you guys always focused on digital primarily?
Yeah, I mean,
We're always kind of focused
it's
on
on-
digital
yeah.
placements, but we certainly saw. I mean, we were around when things like daily candy shuttered.
Yes, yes.
So there were certainly, like, we saw digital getting bigger. We also saw experiential getting bigger, and collaborations and partnerships as tools to kind of barter off of other people's
and really immerse
reputation.
yourself in the brand. So now, you know, every time you leave a client event, we want you to like, you're not just going to another editor boring breakfast. You're really like, what are the different touch points where you're seeing that you really you're a fan of the brand when you leave and you really understand it.
Like creating like almost an emotional experience.
Yes.
Or maybe other words too, but just like
Yeah.
a
Yeah.
bond.
Lifestyle driven versus product driven. You want to buy into a brand's essence and who they are and what
Who
they
the
believe
founder
in.
is
Yeah.
and what their story is and just all of it. Museum of Ice Cream is a great client to mention. We've been with them for years, and to me they launched experiential, and everyone else is kind of
I think they set a bar in a way.
yeah,
I mean,
they
with
did.
the
And there's
rollout
a
that-
million knockoffs that like get me so aggravated, and my friends know not to tell me when they take their kids to like the slime museum.
Or to aggravate you.
Yeah, no. Like, don't
Not a
bring
good
it up.
idea.
And because she set a bar and she set a trend, and she would think of it as flattering. I'm just competitive, but the Museum of Ice Cream really changed the landscape. Where like brands like Chanel were doing pop-ups after she started.
Right. I mean, I guess it's a hard question to answer, but if you're talking about influencer marketing in a paid digital sense versus these experiential events, is it the type of thing where you're like, we got to do both, or is it more beneficial for certain brands to say, I don't know if it makes sense to do experiential marketing, you should focus on paid digital, or vice versa, like don't spend your money on the paid digital, really put your money into these really cool events? Does it depend on the brand type, the brand identity?
I think always I would go with organic social first and understand who your consumer is, who's your demographic, who are you speaking to, who's gravitating towards your brand, really kind of understand who your core base is. Then you can put money behind paid, and then you can create a really amazing brand experience for those evangelists who are following you and who want to go tell the world about your brand. But I think brands are always very keen on doing everything all at once, and how far can they stretch their dollar. But I do encourage brands to kind of pace it out, to see what's sticking, what are the narratives that we're telling people that is resonating with the community. So I generally try and dip my toe there, but probably like 6 months plus.
Do you see a lot of brands making that mistake where they're just like, all of the, for new brands don't have that much money unless they do a fundraise,
Right.
but they're just like pour all their money into some stupid shit. And
Constantly.
do you see that still?
Constantly, like a mailer that doesn't make sense, or a gigantic pop-up event where the biggest celebrity is like someone horrible,
Right.
and there's no press from it, and they're not thinking about what matters for the brand.
Something I want to shift to, which is with the whole digital and social media landscape being much more prevalent, just curious about like the kind of either technologies or what do you guys use to kind of gauge either engagement or like kind of measure the value of an influencer?
Good question.
Yeah.
We just are going to pay an obscene amount for a service that Ashley will tell us about.
So this has actually become more.
Maybe
and
if
more
we
important.
mention it, they'll
Yeah,
give us a
we'll give it-
discount. No.
At Creator R2.
I'll tag them in the in the
Yes,
post.
yes. 'Cause it's an
Um,
obscene amount of money, but we just hired a couple girls that are handling influencers for the agency.
Yeah.
So that's their sole job.
Uh-huh.
So
We have a social strategist and a social partnerships manager that's really doing the legwork in understanding the worth of influencers to brands. Who are the right ones? What is the demographic? How have they performed in their last campaigns? Obviously, sponsored content versus organic content is very different as far as engagement. We talked at length about what it meant when likes were removed, and does that have any impact on our campaigns? How do we now gauge if something's working? I would say still 80% of what we do is unpaid and in kind, and generally because we're talking to influencers who are excited about our offerings, and we're doing things like creating trips for them or experiences that are beautiful and immersive and make sense for them. And so we really try and go that route as much as possible. But obviously we know that paid will always play some role, whether it's an influencer campaign up to a celebrity endorsement.
And the thing about paid versus non-paid, you can send talent or an influencer something and like they can show it, not show it, tag it, not tag it. And when you pay them, obviously it's like swipe up, get the messaging in, do this, do this. So
And
it is,
hashtag ad.
yeah. So it's helpful for some brands where it's like you need to explain who we are and like people are posting this and they're not know how to use it.
Right.
So maybe we get one person who explains how to use it that everyone follows and they explain the messaging.
Right. Yeah, it's a very good distinction because it is kind of a crapshoot if you're just sending product out and gifting these
Totally.
influencers. And of course, you might have relationships, and I think this is just for brands in general because, when I was in fashion, we just mail people stuff all the time and
Yeah.
hope that it stuck. And sometimes it did, but you're totally right. I mean, there wasn't a kind of clear dissemination of what is this brand? Like, they just put the product and maybe they tag you if you're lucky, and if not.
Yeah,
you know,
exactly.
We really try and stay away from the unboxing moments. We really try
And the blind sending, just like sending out product, we don't do that.
And for new categories like a euphoric, that's conscious cocktailing, or even cannabis that their community isn't as familiar with, we really try and set it up where there's more education, so it's not just an unboxing.
The cannabis space is something that's interesting because I know you guys are working with some companies.
We just won the Observer Award for top cannabis PR firms.
Are you serious?
Yeah.
Oh, congrats. I did not
Thank
know
you.
that. Very cool.
Yeah.
All right, so good topic, I guess.
Yeah, totally.
So I'm curious about the experiential component to that because obviously it's cannabis.
Ashley
and,
can speak to this all day long.
and I'm sure California is going to be different than New York, and it's a state-by-state thing. But
Yeah.
I mean, where do you see that landscape shifting from the experiential perspective?
You know what? Lawmakers have made it very difficult to market cannabis. So it's a lot of gray area. So it's, we've spent a lot of time figuring out best practices for that space. We have a handful of clients in cannabis at this point, in various different form factors. And what we've really seen is it's most important to have one influencer introducing it to their community. It's a much better experience when they are folding people into their home. It feels like a safe space. We're on site to answer any questions. A lot of people still have in the back of their head that they had a bad edible experience when they were 15.
Yeah.
And haven't touched the stuff since. So
We get that all the
At
time.
least now they tell you like the milligrams.
yeah,
and
we kind
it's
of
so
help equate-
different.
Still
You're not
trial
going to
and
have
error.
that experience.
I don't speak from experience.
But even like 50 plus aged people have asked questions like, what is THC, what is CBD, how, like, what is the use case here? Anecdotally, a ton of people use it for sleep, so kind of explaining to people.
CBD probably.
Yeah, even THC, because edibles have 6 hours, they last for 6 hours, so it's really giving you that deep sleep. So there is a ton of education to do in that space, and we really try and match our experiential with that versus like, let's all get high
right.
and have a rave, which
probably the challenge, right?
Yeah.
Like re-educating about the culture, because there is this stigma of like just stoners eating junk food, which still exists, but I think pot and CBD is becoming so much more mainstream, which I think it should.
And if you don't come from a sophisticated place in cannabis, you're not going to be taken as seriously. I think it's important to incorporate education as people start using it more recreationally. Otherwise, you're kind of being irresponsible.
Right. I would imagine that it's just from like a professional creative satisfaction perspective, because it's kind of a new space, that it's probably it's interesting.
I mean, it's one of my favorite things to work on. The creativity that we can have in that space is so fun. Because you can't do traditional advertising and marketing, really the onus is on PR to kind of be as creative as possible. So it's certainly an interesting space. Our team loves to work on the accounts. We have really great brands on our roster.
The team like fights for the cannabis accounts 100%.
Hunger Games style.
Yeah.
So I just want to shift gears here and talk to you guys and ask you about like what it's like working together. And sometimes I'll interview founders by themselves or of partners, and it's always interesting to hear the dynamic aspect of it.
I think the best advice would definitely be find someone who has different skills than you and someone who is willing to take feedback. We've hired so many new members of the team in the past year, and our team members are saying, we've worked at a lot of companies and no one has ever listened to us and listened to feedback and make changes. And Ashley and I don't really have an ego. Like since we've started, we're very much like, what could we do better? Like, how can we be better at this? And we're also so competitive. Like, we'll have a monster year kind of every year. And then I'm like, okay, what are we doing even bigger this year? It's like, we're never complacent. It's never enough. It's never enough placements. We never kind of like, kick up our feet and we're like, we rule. Like, we're just not that type. We're constantly, we actually travel together for fun a couple times a year. And it's like the best travel partner ever, because she gets that I'm going to be on my phone and I'm going to be on my computer, and we're both and we're taking conference calls through airports and signing new clients at like dinners in Italy, and like we're always on it.
So it sounds like there's almost a blurred line. I guess when you have your own business, there's always a blurred line.
Yeah, of course, you're always on.
We were just at lunch with Shelley's mom last weekend, and we like ended the lunch and we were still talking about work, and she was like, "Okay, done."
Right.
We're not talking about work. I was like, "This is why we can't hang out regularly on weekends,
right?
Because it always
so work
ends up here, but it's fun for us. We're excited about our work, which is a good thing.
Yeah, we definitely like wake up and I'm like, okay, let's bring on the day, which is
awesome.
Such a great feeling.
I feel like a lot of people, I don't know if a lot, but most people don't feel like that.
I know.
And it's a gift in a way.
I agree.
You work hard for it, so
totally.
there's a payoff.
And people should find the job that they love doing. I went and spoke at Michigan State and I was just like, do something you love. It sounds like so cheesy, but do something that doesn't feel like work. You don't have to, take a major because like this school is great at that major.
Right.
That major could be really boring and terrible. So, think about it. Like this is what your life is going to be. Are you okay with it?
Right. And then also, knowing you guys have very different personalities.
Yeah.
I'm curious like how that works and how you guys balance each other out.
Yeah, I am very much like emotional. Someone does me wrong, I need to like talk about it and like analyze it to death till there's nothing there. And Ashley very much like holds it in. Do you want us to give the example like of what we're talking about?
Yeah, I would love an example.
So we had a client who fired us unceremoniously. We honestly poured our heart and soul into it, the car, and Shelley was like, "What do you think? Tell me everything. I can't believe that. We need to talk about it. Speak." And I was like,
I need.
I'm having a melt. I need to like be. And it was so indicative of our relationship.
Yeah.
I mean, there couldn't be two modes of operation.
Totally. And I'm like, I'm Jewish. I need to talk about this. And Ashley's like, I'm a wasp. I need to keep this in and like be polished, buttoned up, and move forward.
I just needed to like carry on and figure it out.
Yeah.
And, like,
a lot of the
deeply
times,
hurt me.
like something will happen. I'll like tap on her. I'll be like, can you believe this? We need to talk about it. We need to talk about it. And she's like, yes.
But you know, I think we both admire what each other brings. I would have never signed on to work in somebody's apartment if I didn't really feel like she was going to be an incredible partner by my side. I mean, we're now 7 years in, and I think we really, really complement each other's skill sets. But when we get into a meeting, when we're like working side by side, we're exactly what each other needs. So clients who have us both really win.
Yeah, they do. And we like genuinely really like each other. Like yesterday we were in Chicago with clients and it was a 2-hour flight and I'm like, I want to move my seat so I can sit next to you. Like I'd been with her all day and I'm like, you're the only person I could never get sick of. Like there's nothing you do that annoys me.
This is being recorded, so just next
Yeah,
time there's an argument.
Yeah, we really
We'll
don't.
do it
I'm
here
kidding.
later.
Yeah.
Update.
Yes.
So I want to wrap up. I know you guys have a ton of stuff to do. What can we expect from Autumn in 2020?
Oh wow.
Ooh.
There's a big charity initiative I'm trying to work on. You know, my passion, like personally, is rescue dogs, and I love Michigan State football, and so I'm working on another separate project with Autumn to try and hopefully I can give you guys those details moving forward. And then obviously growing the agency, and you know, we're so lucky to take on clients that we actually really like and say no to horrible ones and ones that
Good place
don't.
to be.
Yeah, because
Professional.
I really sold my soul in the beginning and took on so many things I never would have done now, and it's okay. It's like part of the process.
Yeah.
And you know, continuing to like grow our team. Like our team works hard and they love coming to work, and you know, they're really smart, intelligent people, and it's so fun. It sounds cheesy, but it's really fun to see them like making friends that I know that they'll have forever, and like working hard and like feeling great about themselves and their clients and bragging about what company they're working for. So all of those good things for me in 2020.
I think
That's pretty good, Shelley.
as
good.
far
Very
as
good.
like empowering the team and growing the team, I never thought I would be here as an assistant 15 years ago. So for us to really have a hand in this industry, to really create an environment that people love to come to, has been so rewarding, and really just growing our client list in ways that, you know, seeing the cannabis industry explode and having a big part of that, you know, really seeing these industries obviously have a big hand in wellness with ritual and vital proteins, and so being part of those conversations and continuing to make our clients culturally relevant and do things that matter.
You know, today I was at a breakfast for Ritual, and Lane from the Wall Street Journal, she was like, you guys have the best clients at Autumn. I feel like you're working with the coolest companies. So to hear that from someone I respect so much at Wall Street Journal, like one of my favorite publications next to the New York Post, is so awesome to hear.
Shout out New York Post.
Yes, yes.
Well, I know you guys you're hustling all the time, and that your time is valuable. So it really means a lot to me that you guys took the time to do this with
this
me.
was
So
great.
thank you guys.
Our
Thank you
first
so much.
podcast,
Yeah.
hopefully of
In the
many.
books.
Yes.
Definitely
Thank
love to have you guys on again. When I have 1 million viewers, you guys can come back on.
Yes.
So thank you guys for tuning in and for listening and watching if you're watching. Again, Autumn Communications, Shelley and Ashley.
Autumn.com.
Oh, yeah.
It's
At
fine.
Autumn
That's
Come.
all we want to plug.
Yeah.
We're good. Yeah.
And this is the art of starting up. Thank you.
Thank you.